Hello and welcome to Love and Align. I'm Coco.
And you're Paulie. Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Welcome.
welcome. Thanks for being here. Today we are tuning into the energy of the strawberry full moon that is
Yes.
happening. And we're going to explore some
June.
ways. Yes, we're going to explore some ways that people around the world celebrate and honor the moon or relate to the moon. We're going to talk about some of our own experiences, some other cultures and
Rituals.
things. Yep, some other cultures and things that actually are cautioned by the moon. So lots of cool stuff in this episode.
I got my little see, kitty moon down here. Take my notes down. So this is actually something I found at a thrift store that was all beat up, and I taped over the moon part and painted the rest of it black.
I see it now. So
And
like,
and then I just by hand I filled in the white part to make kind of enhance the moon itself. So the skeletal face is more faded because I wanted to enhance the moon.
yeah,
Little
yeah.
crust.
I couldn't even see the cat. I could only see the like the white part and then the silhouette skull there. That's really
Good
cool.
for Halloween.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, the moon being the closest planetary body, it has had such a huge influence on culture and history. And I think it is amazing for, when anyone looks up into the sky and you see the moon, we feel a connection to it. The gravitational pull is real, of course.
Mhm.
And yet it is also something that has been so significant in like how people, I think, even started to view the heavens and question things,
Mhm.
beyond just an earthly existence to us. And
Yeah.
like I see it, the moon, I see her as a sister because we're
Mhm.
like we're children of the earth, and I believe the moon is at least in part probably when the earth was a molten body. There's evidence to suggest that the moon is made up at least in part, if not completely, from the earth, or was created by the earth colliding with another body, and then the moon being created.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of thing. We
Yeah.
can talk about a little bit of these, some Western indigenous
Oh yeah.
cultures do a moon dance. There's a sacred 3-day night ritual for prayer, healing, and honoring the feminine energy. In ancient Egypt, rituals for spiritual knowledge and divine understanding, the moon was attributed to Thoth, right, and his
Oh
wisdom.
yes.
Hinduism, a
Which
full
Thoth is,
moon.
I just want to bring up Thoth, that is the
Yeah.
same as like the Aleister Crowley tarot deck, the Thoth deck.
Oh,
Anyway, yeah,
really?
it's
Hmm.
rooted in Egyptian lore. So
Cool. Do you have one of those?
no, but
Oh,
I've read a little
I'm
bit
like,
about it.
that's
I would love to
cool.
have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Let's
you
see.
were saying
For
Hinduism.
Hinduism, yep. The full moon as a time for fasting, gratitude, and honoring spiritual teachers. Um, yeah, I mean, those are just a couple. There's obviously many, many more. I think that we could kind of talk about a little bit about what we do with the moon. I'm pretty chill with the moon these days. I used to make a deal. I used to go out and take out my water and my crystals and do my thing. And
Yeah.
I don't do that so much anymore. I'm more of a
Oh, I've gotten a little more into that recently myself.
yeah.
But yeah,
I'm pretty passive. I do make a note because I like to know what the energy is as far as like whether I need to be
yes.
releasing or attracting, that sort of thing. I do focus a bit on release just this time of the month.
There is a lot of people focus on that. I've always seen
Mhm.
it as just a time to enhance, and releasing is, I totally get
Yeah,
that. But it's
yeah,
like it's a really good time to enhance
mm,
almost any kind of energy where you want to like. So for me, releasing is like focusing on something I've held a long time, let it go.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
full moon's a portal for that for me.
right. Yeah, and you can. So let's talk about that too, because there's a little bit of if you want to get into like witchcraft a little bit. This is just something
Mm.
that's triggered me to
Mm.
speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Western paganism.
right. You so when you're doing spell work, typically you want to do a release on the full moon because when the moon is full, it then is it wax or wane down to
It
a
wanes,
dark moon, right? It wanes
right?
down to a dark moon. So essentially, the energy is taking that and releasing it right into darkness. And
Cleansing.
then, right on the dark moon or the new moon, that's when you want to manifest or put something into motion, because then it's going to grow with the moon, right? If that's making sense. Alternatively, you can use the full moon's energy to not to release. You can use it to manifest, in my opinion, because especially if you relate so much with the power of the full moon, you can totally use that. Like, I feel
Mhm.
some people, it makes them wacky and weird, the full moons.
Mhm.
I feel invincible on a full moon. I feel
We
powerful
feel very
on a
like
full
I
moon.
can focus on anything.
Yeah.
It can be
Mhm.
releasing, but yes, I totally agree. It can be
Yeah.
on creation too.
Right.
Most especially if it's something I have already been working on. And in a little bit, later on, I'll do a little bit of my ritual stuff, but it's
Hmm.
like a little example. But like recently, I'm trying to make candles. So I'm building up this energy I want to release because I've had some frustration with learning it. But yet at the same time, I know that is something I could focus on next month if I'm still attempting it to
Hmm.
continue to move forward with it. Like I could kind of,
Right.
I could on the new moon coming up, ask for like a refreshing perspective or a refreshing energy. And then on the full moon, keep that moving.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, so I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can actually
Yeah.
work with moon. And again, all
It's
of
all about
this
personal
is,
preference. It's definitely
it
go with
is,
how you feel.
it is,
Mhm.
because I know when I was newer, into the witchcraft and all that stuff, I was surprised to learn that, typically people will release during the full moon. I'm like, yeah, but like it's all up there and big and powerful, like right now. Like, wouldn't you be like trying to attract? So it really, I think it depends on your mindset too and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, because
Um,
on the new moon, we feel like my energies can still be intense, but it's a little bit more
mhm,
spread out, I suppose.
yeah, but yeah, and to that point too, where I guess you'd want to maybe, excuse me, determine whether you're releasing or attracting.
Right.
You
The
could do
intention, the
both,
intention
right?
is important.
Right. Well, you could do both, right? It's funny that I grabbed this today, because, and even like, just to like, when I'm making poppets and spells for poppets
Yeah.
too, um, when you're cleansing your house, when you're doing anything like that, it's really important. You can't just remove, excuse me, you can't just remove and not replace, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's a point that's
Like people
missed
are
a
like, I'll
lot.
clean all the negative energy out of your house. So, yeah, what are you going to replace it
Exactly.
with?
So you have to you have to have a well balanced piece of way of being, I suppose, in everything. So even if you're going to use this moon to cleanse, you then want to bring in things that are good as well to
Mhm.
replace the space. It's like you've taken things out of the space, you need to fill it back with something better. So
Indeed.
just a little tip there, a little
That's
note.
focus. That's something to
Yeah.
focus on.
Yes, for sure.
And you spoke to like in a way to how the moon deals with tides. The
Hmm.
tide. I mean, we
Yeah.
have one. The Earth is one has one water body really, and so the moon is controlling that because of its gravity, and so cycles is a huge thing.
Hmm. And being a woman too, obviously that's very much a thing too. I don't know if it's part of this. It's probably way too TMI, but I am set on the full moon schedule, so
Ah,
I release on the full moon.
yeah,
It's just how I'm set up, and it's been
that's
like a thing
beautiful.
that's, yeah, I worked into that over the last few years. So, ladies out there, I don't know if you know this, you can alter that. You can actually adjust when you want your menstruation to happen. In case you're interested in that, I've done it. I've moved it from a full moon to a dark moon back to a full moon, just with like focus and intention. So I
See,
just
I've
didn't put
only
that out
heard of that as a not
there.
really lady. I've heard of that, and I didn't know that's.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's cool. It's a cool thing. So yeah, so to that point, there's a lot of nature that's involved with that too. The water in our body, you hear about the
Oh,
tide and all
hell
that
yeah.
stuff too. So
Well, and also a friend of ours talks about how it's always a good idea during a full moon or to know like more importantly where the moon is in relation to where you are on the planet because when it's over you, that's not a good time to, if you're somebody who mows their grass, and I'm not a fan of grass mowing, but if you are, don't do it during a time when you know the moon is close, a full moon or an eclipse
Huh.
or something like that, because of the fact that there's more water higher up in the plant. So you want to
Interesting.
do it more when the water's lower in the plant near the roots.
I
Otherwise,
like that.
yeah.
I like that. Moon gardening. I think
Mhm.
I actually have a book on that too. Gardening with the moon. Let's
Yeah.
see. Let's also let's talk about some other alternative, like caution, skepticism, and mystery with the moon. So
Yeah.
not all cultures view the moon with reverence, right? There are some cultures that are skeptical of the moon. I'll read some of these things here. There's some native oral traditions that the moon was hung there. And this is the one that led me to actually research this because I was like, that's super
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
The moon as an exile or placed object, not divine. Some see it as a warning or illusion. And I have
Illusion.
this
That
here.
surprised me to see that.
Yeah. This says some oral traditions describe the moon as an artificial or imposed presence. The idea that it was hung implies placement by outside forces, not necessarily natural or divine. These stories often suggest skepticism toward the moon's role or power, emphasizing discernment rather than reverence. I found that
Huh.
really
That
interesting.
is interesting. Yeah.
There's a
Maybe
couple
because
more
it's at
here.
night, it's only you see it at night or something like. I wonder where that comes from. Yeah.
Um, I heard the story that I heard that it was not part of like the natural. You'd have to do more
It's a
research.
warning. It's a warn. It's like
Yeah.
it was created. I mean, in a sense, it was created for a divine purpose in warning to like
Well,
go back to
some
divinity
believe,
or something.
yeah. Well, some believe that it's there to watch us.
Watcher in the
There's,
sky. That's true.
yeah.
That is
So,
true. There's a song. There's songs written about that, about the moon being a watcher.
yeah.
That's true.
This says in some belief systems, the moon is associated with surveillance, imbalance, or distortion of
Mm,
natural cycles.
mm,
Many indigenous peoples are deeply tied to land, sun, and seasonal cycles,
mhm,
but do not view celestial bodies as gods or deities.
mm, mm.
Some tribes focus instead on earth-based spirits, animals, or ancestors, and consider moon worship a misinterpretation or misappropriation. So,
That is an important distinction. Yes.
yes. Yeah. So there's a couple more here I just found really interesting. This says that the Cherokee, the moon, view the moon as a mistake. It's a stuck ball in the sky, symbolizing a cosmic lesson
Lesson.
rather than a sacred event. Um, Navajo eclipse protocol. They avoid eating, drinking, or being exposed during lunar eclipses. Um, yeah. So this is
Eclipses
really
are
cool.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool. And if you look at different things, there's, different ideas out there, even biblical, that we are in a dome or on a flat surface and that stuff is outside of us. So, there's a lot of different ways that people look at outer space and all the things. So,
Well, and look at how there's a lot of talk about how much have we really been to the moon? I mean,
yeah.
whatever you might believe about
Hmm.
people actually landing on the moon and all of that, I
Hmm.
mean, it's very easy to believe one way or the other with all the evidence
Hmm.
that's been presented. But the
Yeah.
important thing to remember is that it is taking us away from the Earth, and we've spent a lot of money on at least trying to get there, if not actually getting there and landing on it. So
Yeah.
it's like how much could be spent here? So the symbol I
Hmm.
identify with that symbolism, even though I believe the moon's energy is important to connect to and
Hmm.
can be useful to co-create with as a partner.
Yeah.
It's also I agree. It's not a necessarily grounding energy at first for
Hmm.
me to
Right.
connect to.
Yeah.
It's more of a connecting with something else, somewhere else, and
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
reminds me of grounding. But yeah, I could see how people would
Right.
also be, like I said earlier, people would see it as, oh, here's something to look beyond the earth for. Well, oh, but should we really be doing that?
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm open to any other theories and things like that. And I think to go back,
Yes.
you know, when we talk about the moon landing and that point and stuff, I think the problem is like, obviously, like we were lied to, right? Like there's a lot of evidence now and people have come out and be like, that was like the moon landing on TV,
A
like
lot of misdirection
that
and
wasn't real,
yeah,
right? So we
yeah.
know that they like kind of pretended that that was a thing, and then it makes you like question everything, right? And that's kind of like me. I like to
It's
question.
well, that's about being aware. You know,
Yeah,
it's about being aware of
yeah,
all of the data that's out there and being able to draw a healthy conclusion from it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And to avoid the, I don't know, avoid the psychosis too. You got to worry, you know, because I don't know, it's a
Because when
real
it comes
thing.
down to it, is it worth worrying about? It's like, well,
Yeah, yeah, true. So I think discernment is a big thing, and I think it really is how you feel about it. What is the moon? How
yeah,
does the moon make you feel? Right. And
exactly.
again, I've gone through different phases.
That's what it was. That's what you'd said earlier, right?
What?
It's like you're actually a representation. Your relationship with the moon speaks to me as a representation of cycles, of
Yeah.
waxing and waning. And right now you're
Right.
kind of like your rituals
Yeah.
like or whatever is waning. And
Yes.
you know, I use the term ritual kind of loosely. I just mean that could just be sitting in a meditative state and knowing
Mhm.
the moon is shining on you. That could be
Right.
a ritual.
Yeah. I think too, like it was funny because I did have the, I mean, I love the moon. I'm not gonna, you know, it's not that. It's just that
Yeah.
there was a point where I did have this point where I'm like, you know, the sun doesn't get enough like love. Like everybody's out here worshiping
Yeah,
the
it
moon every
does.
month and they're doing this.
Nah,
I don't think that the sun gets enough
it does.
love.
You just don't know. No.
But
There's lots
and
of sun worship. There's plenty of sun worship.
well, I think that's me. I think I am more of a sun worshiper now, more these days than I and
We
maybe I
can
was.
feel that, sister. Yeah, I think you can feel that.
Yeah. But I think too, I think part of it is energy, right? Like I know I carry a lot of masculine energy and I'm trying to get
Mm.
more balanced
Hmm.
with that. So I think that's part of it too, that the sun
No,
is
I've
more.
actually I used that at the sun moon thing as a symbol, a metaphor once in conversation with someone saying
Mhm,
that masculine energy has gotten enough time in the sun
mhm,
and you know, and I'm like,
mhm.
now's the time for
Yeah,
more feminine. And
right.
we
Yeah.
see that as a strong cultural force right now. And it's even showing up, of course, in pop culture. So it's
Hmm.
like people are feeling this.
Yeah. Um,
Striking
and
that
I've seen,
balance is very
yeah.
important.
I've seen too, another idea, or I don't know if it's a theory or if it's anyway, this other is that men are associated with the sun because men have more of a 24-hour cycle and women have that 28-day cycle. So we're more lunar and men
Truth.
are solar. So
Yes, I saw you post something about that once.
yes.
That was
And
interesting.
yeah, and that is why too, like if we can consider that in each other, like if in our relationships and things like that with people, and we can understand that like maybe men have more of a 24-hour reset and women have more of this like longer thing, I think it would help
Well,
us.
and think of it like this too. It's not necessarily the men women thing as it is when a person feels possibly a more masculine type of
Right.
energy. That's
Right.
a daily cycle. And if
Yeah.
you're feeling more into your feminine energy, then that is more of
Mhm.
a long-term cycle
Yeah.
and monthly, certainly manifests as monthly in a physical way in
Yeah.
like over half the population.
Yeah. I think there is a definite like biological factor though between like
Yes,
when you're
that's what I
talking
mean.
about
That's what I
men,
mean.
women.
The
Yeah.
monthly thing manifests. I mean, over
Right.
half the
Right.
world's population is
Hmm.
female, and that's another thing. It's more male female than it is man woman, is
Yeah.
what you're talking about when you talk biological.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I just wanted to say real quick, I honestly feel that with the moon being so close to us, when ancient people didn't have fancy instruments to measure stuff, they felt the pull of the moon.
Yeah. Hmm.
We have felt it. I know other people, if I'm sure
Hmm.
you have.
Yeah.
You can't describe it. So
Hmm.
anyway.
For sure. For sure. I think that happens when you're not, as long as you're not so distracted. You know, to your point, there I we don't know because we weren't there, but there were many less distractions for our ancestors. We didn't have,
Yeah.
you
Less
know,
background noise. Just
exactly. So
literally, I'm talking like literal background,
literal
if
background
nothing
noise,
else.
like the tunnel, like the all the tunnel noise yesterday. Yeah. So
Coco
I
had an
had my
instance
own
in a
little
tunnel.
release. I had my
Cathartic.
own little release yesterday. We can talk about that later if we want.
We can all relate to bad traffic and stuff.
Let's see. Astrology of the Strawberry Moon in Sagittarius.
Oh
Focus,
yeah.
expansion, wisdom, abundance, exploration. I did see
And
there's some really
Jupiter's moving
cool
into a new sign.
what
This
Cancer
particular move, moving into Cancer.
Cancer
But
that
the
happened
fact that
on
Jupiter moves into a new sign is significant because
do
Jupiter's
you
the
want to
sign of Sagittarius.
do you
Sorry.
want to touch on that? Do you want to
I don't know. That's it. That's all I
Okay.
know about it.
All I got. Don't ask me anything. Oh yeah, and this then it talks about the moon phases here. A new moon, beginnings, new moon or a dark moon. Waxing is momentum, full moon is release, and waning is letting go. So you can
Yeah.
use the moon. You don't have to just wait for a full or a dark moon. You can use the moon through all its phases.
And like you were
All
just
its
talking, like we were just talking about, the fact that you have to think of it in a way of like you're planning ahead a little bit. So what
hmm
we're doing right now is going to then be building and working through like the next, you could think of it as maybe the next week is an easy
Yeah,
way to, because then you're moving into the next like quarter moon, or if you think 2 weeks out, whatever you keeping that long game in mind.
right. Yeah, I like that. Cleansing and charging, crystals, tarot decks, moon water, sacred items like your poppets, things like
You
that.
do moon water. Yeah.
Yep. Often people will cleanse their crystals and recharge them under the full moon.
Yeah,
Um,
because I don't know what you've heard, but a lot of the people that I know, it's like a way of it has to do with that release, but it's like the like sunlight is traditionally in a lot of areas thought of as a way to empower, and moonlight as a way of then letting go.
mhm,
It's the same light, it's just being transmuted through the moon, and it's the symbolism of day night.
mhm.
You're awake in
Yeah,
the day and you're sleeping at night when
right,
you're so
right. Unless you're a
yin
bat.
and yang, like you're yin and yang.
Yeah, like yin and yang.
Unless you're what?
A bat.
Unless you're a well, it's still there is still in a cycle. They need to
My
sleep
son,
sometime.
well, because we went to bed
Their
when I
day is
laid
night and their
down.
night is day.
Yeah, right. Well, I laid down with my son at night to get him to sleep, and he'll be like, "Let's talk about bats" or whatever it is. So like lately, it's been like bats. So that's why I thought about that because I just told him about that. I said,
Perfect.
right. I said the bats are waking up right now. I said you're
Yep.
going to sleep, but the bats are waking up, and some people, some things are awake at night, and
Well,
you
if he
know,
ends up being Batman instead of Superman, that's a good choice.
I prefer Batman too. I like Batman was really cool. I agree.
Uh,
Let's see. Moon baths, smoke
yes.
cleansing, salt and herb
Yeah.
baths, or walking through smoke under the moon. I like that. That
Yeah, that's
sounds,
only something I've heard about. I might try that sometime. I
yeah,
mean,
I want to.
I do like to smudge myself for some ritual stuff, but
hmm
I hadn't thought about a tribute or I'm sorry, associated with the moon.
Yeah. Let's see. Journaling or fire rituals. Write down what to release and burn it. You can often do that. A lot of people will write it out and burn it, or
Mhm.
bay leaves. You can write
Ah,
release on a bay, whatever you want to release on the bay leaf, and let that go too. I know a lot of people do that. You can also do that to manifest with bay leaves. Dream work and moon
nice.
gazing, deepening intuition through observation, silence, and dreams, which is a lot of what I do. I'm more internal with a lot of my spiritual stuff.
So Allie, who we had on episode 1 with Shadow Work,
hmm
does dream interpretation.
Nice.
And yeah.
She's really talented, isn't she? Y'all should go check out Allie again. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
throw her some
Yeah.
props again too because she's awesome.
Episode 1
I didn't
Shadow
know
Work.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta work with her for sure. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you
She's
when
done
you told
some
me you
new
were
amazing
on
things.
her, yeah, when you told me you joined her Patreon, I was like, I should look at that too because I don't know, I could use some guidance. Anyway, we can. I go ahead.
I was just going to say that the moon gazing. So that is really
Yes.
what that's how I first started doing rituals with the moon. I would just like sit under it and just kind of look and
hmm
kind of breathe in any inspiration that breathe with any inspiration that kind of came to me. And
Yeah.
one thing, so you'll notice, let's see here on the on the poppet that you made me. These were on there because I sometimes put that in special occasions on my forehead, which is a way I connected with Hecate.
Mm,
Hecate is also a goddess who, in an energy, who is
mhm,
a light through the darkness. And
mhm,
so I associated that with the moon. Not everyone associates the triple moon with Hecate, but I kind of bridge it together like that.
mhm.
And um, when I dance, I move my hands like this. So
Ah,
that I like to do that as just like an as above, so below.
I like
So
that.
yeah. So
Huh.
and that was just inspired by watching the moon, by like you said, by doing like moon gazing.
I like it. Yeah. We can add to scrying because
Mm,
a lot of people scry with
it's
the
true.
moon. I have done that. I am a lifelong scryer. I didn't know what I was doing my whole life,
Hey,
but yeah,
it's
I
the
that's
first time I'm learning about this.
scrying. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like you know what it is, right? Or
Oh
should I?
yeah, but that's you've done it. Sweet.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what that is, it's like when you the way I do it is you focus on an object and then you like relax your gaze. So you let your eyes unfocus on whatever it is that you're looking at, and then the longer I let my eyes relax and unfocus, I can see all kinds of stuff and get all kinds of messages. It's really cool. People do it with the moon, with the candles, or
Fire.
black plates, fire. Fire's really hard for me because it moves. I need a
Well,
stationary.
like I see dancing figures in it, but I don't usually get messages.
Mm,
It's just that I
gotcha.
that I will sometimes see events, but so I
Mhm.
suppose that's a little scrying. I don't know.
Yeah,
That is
I think
beautiful.
so.
So you do that
Mhm.
with moonlight or like light in the water or what? How do you?
With the moon. So like
Uh-huh.
I'll just sit and focus on the moon and let my eyes
Oh,
relax. And then whatever comes, comes. And I'll get clarity. I would go out there, you soften your gaze, and then you just have your conversation. Kind of, I did that yesterday a little bit on accident too. And you and I talked because I had such
yes.
a day yesterday. But um,
We were going to film and then we both had to we had some releasing to do on the second day of the
yeah,
full moon.
I had a really good release yesterday, like a really good one. So yeah, in the ways that I apparently use the moon, I just did it standing in my bedroom yesterday
Yeah.
afternoon. So it's always
I know
different.
it. You've got to be. You never know when that inspiration's going to come like that.
Yeah, it's true.
And there you go.
But
I wonder if gravity has something to do with it. I honestly
mm,
wonder if there's some way, like we don't have to prove it, but
mhm,
but could we prove that like the feeling we get from the moon is actually strongest because of gravity somehow? That like that is
mm,
the where's the barrier between emotion, feeling, and hard physical, right? That's at my
mhm,
kind of the mind body spirit thing a little bit,
yeah,
only this is more mind body.
mhm, yeah,
The gravity's having an effect on us. So
yeah. There's like a push pull. Is there a
yes, exactly.
yeah,
And so that
yin and
creates
yang?
just
It's
like yes, and at intense moments, it can be amplified, like any
mhm,
intense emotional moment in our life.
right.
So I love your idea about like just gazing at the moon and then seeing what you can see in it and getting
Mhm,
just letting the messages come.
right. Yeah. It's the only way I know how to do it. There's been you and I talked about meditation. I had a therapist that we would do meditation sometimes where we just sit for 5 or 10 minutes and,
Mm.
focus on your breath and scan your body kind of.
Geez, I wish I'd had a therapist like that.
He was amazing. He's amazing. Anyway, we did that. He taught me some of that stuff, but it's really uncomfortable. And I'm sure that it gets easier the longer you do it and stuff. But there were times like we did a 15-minute one time and it doesn't sound like a long time. But when you're
I do
sitting
20-minute
still,
meditations. I know.
it's
Sometimes.
painful in a way. Like I
Well,
told him,
yeah.
well, painful in the
In
way,
that
let me
sense,
explain.
yes.
It was sitting still for that long is uncomfortable. I was ready to like throw myself onto the floor. Like that's how, because when you want to move and you're intent on not moving and focusing on your breath,
Yeah.
I mean, is really difficult. So like I've been
Mhm.
on this, I've been
It
trying to
is.
find a better way to meditate for me, right?
Yes.
So yeah,
Oh, that's precisely what I'm trying to bring to meditation is movement in it instead of
yeah,
just being still
yeah. I
and
just
focuses.
my
Because I guess
brain doesn't
you need
stop. Yeah.
a lot of people I find these days need to focus. So that's
Yeah.
what I think is beautiful about that. You're saying focus, just look at the moon. And I think that resonates with V too, because it's like when I'm feeling amped up,
Yeah.
sometimes I can use that for what I want to do. Sometimes it's extra energy I have to release. Well, sometimes going outside and just finding a focal point that way
Yeah.
is that release.
hmm Yeah.
Or
And that is one of
or
the
connecting with the earth too is because of
right.
course the earth is always there, but with the moon in the sky it's like we
hmm
feel like, oh, it's almost like it's like hope, I
hmm
suppose. It's that
Yeah.
release of like, oh, there's something else, and so I can
hmm
just, it's a feeling of freedom, I suppose. And
Yeah.
then I can feel grounded again because
hmm
I've had that release.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. That's cool. Well, too, and to your point, not that like we all touch the earth, but like we can all, you and I could court and we could walk outside and both look at the moon at the same time and say, hey, we're both looking at the same thing right now. It's a very connected feeling, right? The moon.
Yes.
That we
We have
know that we
definitely
can,
thought of that.
yes, we can all go outside at any time and connect with each other through it, right? Because we're all observing it, giving
at
it
a at
energy.
and at a not even that quantum of a level,
Right.
we're all there together experiencing that.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I shout at the moon or bark at the moon, as Ozzy Osbourne said, then eventually you might hear it, even though you don't actually hear, it's still coming down to you
hmm
one way or another, right?
I like it. Do you do that a lot? You bark at the moon a lot?
I like to howl at the moon.
That'd be cool.
I have a shirt that says life is simple, eat, sleep, howl.
I like
I don't
that.
I don't I don't howl a long time, but sometimes I'll go out and if it's out there, I'll just let out like a whoo or something like hmm,
I
call to it. Yeah.
like
I
that.
call to her. It's Luna. That's how we
Yeah.
have always seen it. Told our kids about that, called her Luna, and it's just like such a innocent way still of looking at it because I have always seen her as a companion and a sister again. So
hmm
so some of what I already mentioned, like the as above, so below. Um, and like you said, some for a while, excuse me, I would really just sit with the moon. And then eventually it was like, okay, I want to do a little more with this. And I looked some things up, and some of it was like directly related to like Wicca or Wicca. And then I would do a couple rituals out of a book or maybe a website. And then whatever didn't really stick with me would kind of fall away. So what I usually do, and I've made some notes here so I can kind of touch base on things, but I'll just, after um, opening the circle, or excuse me, closing the circle at first, stepping into it and to going to the four directions, I will make a motion like I did here to represent the as above, so below. And the moon doesn't necessarily need to be in front of you, but it's all always nice to know where it is and to recognize that. And then, because I normally face east when I do this,
hmm
but sometimes I'll face the moon depending, especially if I'm in a different part of the country, and then say something along the lines of, Luna, thank you for your guiding light. Beautiful to see you. Beautiful for you to show me the way through what I need to focus on now. Because it can be focusing, as we said, on release or
hmm
intensifying something. And then if I have some water with me, I'll dab like, so it's like mind and voice and heart and feeling. And so it's like all, body
hmm
feeling. Because it's for me, it's like at that moment, I'm touching myself. So it's like all the elements, all of a personality, of my personality and humanity. And then what I want to release, I'll just mention it. And I could be like, I was very frustrated making candles, and I know it's a learning experience. So I can let my frustration go, have gratitude for learning. And then I just kind of meditate on that for a little while. And then I might do a dance, or maybe I'll do a bark or something, whatever I'm inspired to do, right? To really like, then because I've been breathing through it and talking through what I want to focus on. And then it's just,
hmm
and then it's like a full actual release. And
Right.
voicing something into existence or moving my arms and dancing.
Hmm. I like that.
And yeah, then
I
I'll
like that.
open the
So
circle.
that would be a great way. So like, I like that as a ritual. I think everybody could use that, adopt that, use that as an outline for themselves because it was well bodied and balanced. I liked it. You open your circle, you have your, your certain things that you're doing um, intentionally, right? That sort of thing. And then the release kit actually fill in the blank. You can do anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday when I was having a hard time, with my anger and I was having a moment, I actually connected I connected with a little statue in my room and it taught me how to release, right? So like your ritual is perfect. I could take yours and fiddle with it and then use my own release to do that.
Yes.
So and anybody's welcome to do that, right? So I like it.
Exactly. And that's the thing to keep in mind. You said it perfectly because it's all about what is right for you. You can use
Hmm.
the same hand motions, or you could use the same words, or they could be completely different. It's
Hmm.
whatever comes to you. And I think that
Yeah.
that is how I've said this in other episodes. It's personal gnosis is
Hmm.
very important. And
Yeah.
I think that by simply having a connection like with the moon, like that's enough that we all have in common. So
Hmm.
the words we use and the motions we use and all that, that's all personal expression and beauty. And that's whether
Hmm.
you think of the moon as an actual divine being or a sister or just a lump of rock in the sky, it's still something that we can relate to and share. And so
Hmm.
how can we share these things together to enhance joy and love, you
Yeah.
know?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But
we
not
should
really.
have a sun episode too. As
Mhm.
we'll have a solar episode
Yes,
along with.
especially with the solstice coming up. So that's the thing. We are actually filming this on June 12th. So it's the third day of the full moon. Hopefully, we'll have it out on Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And then our next episode, yes, we'll be doing the with the solstice coming up. And
Yeah.
then we want our Q&A to be soon. So again, comments please, anybody watching and what you'd like us to answer about any of what we've already got out there.
Yep. If you have
And
anything to add
yeah,
to what we've talked about here, tell us about your ritual or whatever. Let's all talk. Talk to us in
that's
the
right.
comments, and we'll talk back. We like
That's
people.
right. And we'll be given a heads up on when the Q&A is coming. But I would also like to hear people's comments on how they would balance something like moon and sun. Because
Hmm.
like what you and I were talking about before we started recording, there's just like with moon stuff, there's a lot that's accepted, but then there's also a lot of like negativity sometimes posed towards, or like the sun doesn't get enough attention. It's all about we're going to
Hmm.
focus on all the other planets. And
Right.
I've even seen in astrology now, it's like it's not just your sun sign good that we're talking about the moon sign and your rising, but then they're adding Venus. And
Yeah.
it's like the sun is becoming less important, but the sun is so important. And
The sun
so
is
that's the
everything.
yin yang of
Vital.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that'd be exciting. Um, there was one small other thing that I did miss on here that we should talk about is just
What?
like the moon and mystery. The moon has always been a symbol of the unseen, the
Yep.
mystical, the dream realm, myths,
Mhm.
werewolves, stuff like that. So I just wanted to touch on that because I read the word werewolf. And
Yes, and werewolves is something that's near and dear to my heart from like a lore kind of perspective. But right, it's grounded in like the fact that people have what's called lupus in some circles, where they
mm,
get very hairy, but people just thought that was related to like the moon when it's
oh,
really, but it's not.
I didn't know that.
Things like that get
Yeah.
miss correlated
Yeah.
in a way for whatever reason. And
Yeah.
yet at the same time, then we also have lunacy, which is
Mm,
people, and as someone who's schizophrenic, right? And so I like
mhm.
embracing the term crazy for many reasons.
Yeah.
And lunacy is applied to people who supposedly when the full moon's out, like you said, people can feel very intense, and hospitals and other things say that supposedly people, get there's more crazy type of stuff or
Yeah.
intense energy
Right.
going on during full moons. So I think there's a lot of correlation and causation, but people haven't really sat down to study some of this stuff. I don't mean the werewolf thing, but I mean like
Mm,
how it affects us. But it's
yeah.
interesting how it manifests itself in lore, how people come up with
Yeah.
stories about this thing because she is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, in universal. In universe, like you say, it's universal. She's
Universe.
everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
So balk at the moon.
Ah,
Dun, dun, dun.
moon. What else? Is there anything else that we need to add or
I love ending with an Ozzy Osbourne quote.
yeah, we should go out. We'll do a little outro with some Aussie.
Or if you
We're
all want to hear us, play some music in the background during this, let us know. I tried that
yeah.
Steely Dan once, that didn't work too well. We'll
I
look for
thought it
some.
was kind of distracting. I was
I
like,
I highly recommend. Here we go. Highly recommend the band Camel, the album Moon Madness
okay,
from the early '70s European prog rock. Moon Madness. It's
huh,
lovely. Yes.
all right.
Knock your socks off.
I like it. I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I'll add a musical moon, CCR, Bad Moon Rising. I'll just add it because I
Hey,
love some old Credence.
CCR. That's hey, Born on the Bayou. They knew about Dancing with the Moon. I'm sure of it.
Yep. Yep. Oh, that's another one. Dancing in the Moonlight is another one. And let's see what else. I'm a big music fan, so
Well, Moonshadow, Cat
yeah,
Stevens.
Cat Stevens. Let's see what else.
I know we're gonna finish filming this. I'm gonna come up with 10 examples.
There's that I've seen that thing floating around with Paul McCartney, that song, the
Oh,
Christmas song, The Moon is Up, the sun is, and they were
yeah.
talking about dancing on the moon and the sun
That's true.
is. Yeah,
Hey,
there's
his recent solo album from like just a few years ago, I mean, was called Egypt Station. So he's been getting into some bizarre stuff, and we are talking about Egypt and Thoth related to the moon god.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that showed up recently as a Marvel thing with Moon Knight, which was a comic book by Marvel Comics back in the day that was really mystical and amazing,
huh,
like a superhero from Egypt.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it too because I'm kind of chimeric and he could kind of turn into different things. Anyway, I digress. It was very
I like
sweet.
it. I
Flow.
like
It's about
that.
emotion and flow.
Yeah. All right. We should add too. We
Well,
want to do a live soon, and we want you to be there.
yes.
So we're
Actually,
planning. Go ahead.
that's the Q&A.
Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd really like to do a
Live.
live format. So if you guys could like interact a bit, um, it would be really awesome, you know.
Yes, we
So
want to hear from
yeah.
you so badly. No, we want to share, and if there's anyone out there who wants to get into a discussion with us, we'll put some ads out there for the live, and you can
Yeah.
ask whatever, or if you ask us now, then we will be sure to answer it during the live.
Yeah. We really want to, it's really like, I want a sense of community here.
Yep.
Like if we can, because I know that there's a lot of people out here who have a lot to talk about too. And
Yes.
I'm all for differing points of
We
view and
when we
all of
say
it.
we want to hear your voice, we mean it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're here for us, but we're here for you too. Like this is,
Let's band
we want
together.
a safe,
Hey, it's just
safe.
like I've got with my, the resistance. If you
Yeah.
I line up my fingers. The resistance.
The resistance.
Aligning. I'm loving and aligning,
Exactly.
being a rebel.
I dig
A
it.
rogue one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks
Thank you,
for
everyone.
talking about the moon with us. And we'll see you next time. We're going to talk about the sun next time.
Peace, love, and align. That's right. All right. Bye.
Later.